thank you all for having us. Appreciate it. I'm sorry we were a little bit late. We got out of a meeting that was almost, well, it was a little right at 3 hours long, maybe 2 hours and 45 minutes. So I apologize. I had to stop and pick up my good friend Daryl Link, and it was a beautiful drive down here till it started raining on us, but that's okay. I love God's country. As y'all know, I'm from Davis County. I know y'all don't consider that Western Kentucky. My brother-in-law is from Lyon County, and he definitely tells me I'm not from Western Kentucky, but I see Judge Leeper back there shaking. That's right, you're not. So where am I from? I don't know. So thank you all for having us here today. JD talked about quite a bit, and he's correct. You know, 95% of the time we are together. When I first started at KACO, I'd been at the judges for 12 years, at the County Judges Association for 12 years. And when I started, I went to him and said, look, all we do is go around and kill each other's bills, and we don't talk. And it's not helping the people we serve a bit. If we don't serve as an example of how to work together when you can, when it's feasible and when it's reasonable, to work together to try and make things better for everybody, we're just going to continue to kill each other's bills, and then we'll go back and tell our boards, well, we tried, but KLC killed it. Well, we tried, but KACO got in the way. So, and it was a trial by fire. That first session was extremely rough, to say the least. But we learned a lot from it. I think we're better for it. I think the organizations are definitely much better for it. We have great leadership in place now. And so we do try to work together. That being said, I'll try not to repeat everything that JD said. But it was a session unlike any other that I have been through. It was a very fast pace. As Chairman McDaniel, Senate A&R Chairman McDaniel, who replaced Judge Leeper, he told us right before it started, he said, if you're with us, great. If you're not, good luck. You're going to need an army of men to try and stop what we are for. And he was correct. I will say that there were a few kinks in the armor. It wasn't 100% kumbaya, but it was about 99%. And I think Representative Imes can tell you they worked very well together. Things were a much faster flow. I think they cut down on a lot of things that, as a lobbyist, when you're sitting there waiting for the House or the Senate to get going, they would take 2 hours to introduce everybody and their sister that had come that day. And while that's wonderful for the constituents, it made for a long day. And so they kind of streamlined that process, for better or worse, whether you like that or not. Now that's how they do that. That's how Speaker Hoover has chosen to do it. And so things went at a very fast clip this session. For KACO, we had a lot of bills that we got passed that we were very happy with. I will start with the pension issue. We were very excited. That was our #1 issue, was CERS separation. We've been working on it for a long time. We work collaboratively, not with just KLC, but with the stakeholders that are in CERS. There are a lot more than just city and counties. It's called the County Employees Retirement System, but you've got cafeteria workers, you've got fire police. There are a lot of folks that are in CERS, and so we had worked together. We were very happy when Senator Bowen agreed to work on the draft. It was several hundred pages. I'm sure some of you all have seen that, and we were very excited about it. We came out of committee. It was unanimous. We were excited. He told us after the meeting, go get your vote count. We got our vote count. And then the governor registered as a lobbyist and came in and just kicked us. He did a fabulous job. So he had his press conference. I can't tell you that my members were happy to see that CERS bill get stopped, because we had the momentum. We had worked really hard on it. We thought we had made a good case for why we needed separation. And just for clarification, with KACO and KLC, it's not an apples-to-apples organizational comparison. We have 10 locally elected affiliates that we represent. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but we do have 2.5 that are in KERS. Your Commonwealth's attorney, your PBAs are in KERS, and then county attorneys have a foot in both, C and K. And so while we wanted the separation, that doesn't mean, and please go back and tell your PBAs and your Commonwealth's attorneys and your county attorneys that I said this. That doesn't mean that we're just going to let KERS flounder, good luck, if you fail, you fail, we got ours kind of thing. That's not the attitude at all for any of the stakeholders that are in. I know that JD has members that have some time at the state retirement, and so while we want the separation, we do want to be cognizant of what K needs in order to continue. But I think that's the bottom line, is if we still want K to exist, some changes will have to be made at some point. So we are cognizant of both of those, and we were very disappointed, and I know the league and the school boards and the firefighters, police, all the folks in CERs that were behind this bill were disappointed that we had to put the brakes on it. But it was the right thing to do strategically. Senator Bowen is still very much in favor of moving forward. He has ongoing talks with the governor and communications with them. I know that we are in talks with the governor's staff going forward on pension reform and tax reform. As I'm sure you all have heard, the governor has said that pension reform will drive tax reform. And so we are all busy trying to get recommendations to his folks as to what we can tolerate, as to what we need at the local level, which we would like more flexibility to be able to raise the revenues when they're needed. We made it very clear that our folks are elected too, and they're not gonna, I don't think Judge Terry's gonna go out and put on 12 new taxes if he has 12 new ways to raise those revenues that he might need. He wants to get reelected as well, and he doesn't want to put that big a burden on his people. And so I think that we're making some progress. We've had an initial meeting with some of his staff again, and so I hope that we continue to have those meetings with them. I will go into House Bill 319 a little bit. Representative Imes, we cannot thank you enough for that bill. That is a long time in coming. That bill allows these local option elections to occur on primary or general election day. I know Oldham County alone has spent over $400,000 in the last 3 years on local option elections. And so this will save us money. It will allow folks who want it on a day other than the primary or general election day to post a bond to pay for it. And so there is an option there if they want it outside of those dates, but that will save counties a tremendous amount of money. Elections are a pretty big burden on counties. We only get reimbursed less than $300 a precinct, and the average precinct cost is over $2,000. And even when there's a local option election and there's only 12 people that vote, we still have to go through the motions as if it were a full-blown election. And so that can be very expensive, so thank you so much for your leadership on that. I know there were a few meetings where you got some pretty tough questions from members of your own party, and you did a great job defending that and helping us out, and we really appreciate that. Another few bills, one of them, the Real ID, it's actually not called that now, it's called the Voluntary Travel ID. But that, I don't care if you know, whatever you want to call it, I don't care, it passed finally. It is a great piece of legislation. Representative Duplessis from Elizabethtown got that passed. He worked with some folks over the interim to get that done. And so you can still get a non-compliant license if you'd rather. You don't have to get the more expensive voluntary travel ID, but we are now in compliance with the federal law, and so you won't have to go tell your folks they have to go get a passport to get on a plane come January. So I think that's a big win for everybody. Senate Bill 39 from Senator Carroll. That's a closed jailers bill that's been in the works for a couple of years. There were some negative newspaper articles on closed jailers a few years ago. It painted all of them with the same brush, and as we all know, no one group of elected officials is perfect, but certainly there were some egregious examples, and so he got with the Jailers Association, and Senator Carroll got that bill passed that will require the fiscal courts to pass an annual resolution outlining what the duties of that closed jailer are, along with that jailer's salary. You just have to state that on paper. He wanted that in there, and so that's put in there. And that's done annually, passed by the fiscal court, and then on a quarterly basis, that closed jailer will come and give a report. Here's what I did, here's how many prisoners I transported, here's where I took them, here's everything that you told me to do, and here's how I implemented it. And so it's just a transparency item, and it allows the fiscal court to know what's going on, and it gives the jailer the opportunity to let everybody know how he or she is performing their duties on a quarterly basis. House Bill 67 was passed, and that limits the distribution of autopsy records. And that might sound small, but there was a case in Spencer County where some autopsy records of a young man who passed away in Iraq were distributed, and it was a very sad case for that family, as you can only imagine. You hope you never go through something like that. And so this limits the scope of who can, it designates who can and who cannot have it. And so you have to fall into one of those categories in order for that information to be released to you. And so we think that's a good protection. House Bill 222, shock probation. If you are charged with convicted with a DUI along with either manslaughter in the second degree or reckless homicide, you are no longer allowed to have shock probation as an option. which our Commonwealth and county attorneys both appreciated. House Bill 284 for PVAs, they are now allowed to use digital imaging technology for their inspections after the initial on-site inspection. And so that's going to be a big help for them personnel-wise, as they've been cut back on their ability to have enough staff to do the jobs that they need to do. So that's going to help them quite a bit. And then HJR 56, that is a resolution that was passed, and that is going to require the Division of Water to do a study on packaged sewer treatment plants. And that doesn't sound very glamorous, but if you have one go awry, it is a very unglamorous thing to have happen. There's a place in Bullitt County called Hunter's Hollow. It was an abandoned packaged sewer treatment plant. It had not been kept up, and the private owner walked away from it scot-free, and people had raw sewage for 3 months flowing in their backyards. So we don't have a handle on how many of those there are, and so this study is going to be the first step to get an idea of A, how many do we have, where are they at, what condition are they in, and then it's going to make legislative recommendations. What do these private owners need to be doing? How transparent do we need to make sure we know where all of them are, who owns them, and what kind of shape they're in, what kind of rates they charge. And so we're hoping that study will kind of clarify what needs to happen in the 2018 session to come forward with some legislation, because that's a problem all over the state. Somebody's got a problem with a packaged sewer treatment plant. So that's the quick and dirty. I don't want to. I think JD took 2.5 minutes of my time, so I don't want to be too long. But the special session is coming, or at least if you talk to the governor's staff, and he has said it on multiple occasions, it is coming. You will be getting more information from us. We still stand by Senate Bill 226 on CERS separation, and so for us, that's kind of a no-brainer on pension reform. Tax reform, the inventory tax is only about $11 million to the state. That's why it sounded like it would be such an easy thing to take away or to repeal, not knowing that there was over $128 million to cities, counties, and school districts. And if you look deep enough, you'll see that there are a lot of fire departments that are very dependent on the inventory tax for their revenues. And so while I know that the governor has said he would like to get rid of the death tax and the inventory tax, we've got to figure out a way to replace those revenues at least. Revenue neutral sounds great, but it doesn't do you all a bit of good. We feel like you all need more flexibility, because what works in Callaway County is not going to work most likely in Owsley County, is not going to work in Boone County. And so we've got to have some flexibility to meet the specific needs that are tailored for that county and those constituents, and what you want in your county, what you need in your county. And so that's going to be our mantra as far as tax reform. Pension reform, our biggest thing is that the inviolable contract be respected. Any attempt to peel that back, I feel sure will probably end up in court. The inviolable contract is important to us. It's the most vital thing as far as pension goes. We do want a viable system. We do want one that's long-term and sustainable. But we do think that inviolable contract needs to be respected and protected.